This is a tutorial on how to create this hologram animation, along with other transitions as well.
So you want to learn how to edit like a pro.
But you don't have a camera or pay for professional software. And all you have is your phone. No wait, this phone. Well, what if I told you you could do this with just your phone and free apps? Or animate this? Or do this transition? I can show you how.
The difficulty level is a 4 out of 5. The techniques used include mesh cut, speed ramping, and keyframing. I'm going to use CapCut to demonstrate this particular reel, but we'll also need to use PixArt to remove the background of images. Here are some examples of how to apply this to your niche. Pause to read and let's get started. Alright, let's start by taking a look at all the clips that you'll need, starting with this clip in the subway. So I have a little dialogue for this reel, and so I am wearing my DJI mic that I linked in the bonus gear list, which is in the bonus section of this course. So you can check that out if you need to record audio from a distance like I am here. It's just connected to my iPhone. And then this part we wipe across the whole screen. Remember, we already talked about this in tutorial 2, which is the wall wipe transition. So if you need a reminder on why and all of that, just go check that out. So I'm not going to elaborate on that in this particular reel. In fact, we're going to speed through the first few transitions and we're going to focus mostly on the hologram animation for this one. So we continue in from that transition into here. And we continue on the next dialogue and we pause right here. And then on the spot, I took a screenshot of the last frame after I finished talking and I put it in my phone, and then we pull out from the phone. If you need a reminder of how to create this, we cover this in actually a few tutorials, but specifically the one that is advanced travel compilation transition, that is tutorial 5. So you can definitely go check that out, although we have that in other tutorials as well. And then now this transition is looking up. So I look up, and then when I look up, I continue on to the next clip where I repeat the looking up action like this. And with this one, what I had to do is go and change outfits each time and sit in locations in the frame that aren't overlapping. So, and then this is another one. I made sure to be very careful not to overlap with the chair because I knew that somebody else would be sitting in the chair. And even when I'm waving, I try not to move my arms around too much because I want to make sure we're not overlapping too much. And this one as well, same thing right here, because we're gonna put masks on it so that we combine all of these people into one frame. So I'm just doing some silent motions here and we'll piece it all together. And then we continue to here. So this is the next part where I continue the dialogue, and this is the animation part that we want to focus on for this particular tutorial. Now this has some similarities to tutorial 19, which is the one about the animated music selection. However, this is slightly different because it's a hologram and we're going to also be using masking techniques for the hologram to switch between the outfits. But the ideas that you can use for this one and the other one, the music selection one, is quite similar between the two.
Or animate this.
So that was a very short line. And as I swipe, each time I swipe, I will be changing outfits. Now, what I want to point out here is a mistake that I made for so you can see that I'm swiping this way, right? This way, from left to right. This is actually wrong. Well, actually wrong because in the other videos, I swiped the opposite direction. So you'll see I swiped from right to left. And also, in this pink one, I also swipe from right to left. Don't worry, we'll cover that in a bit when we get into the app. And then it's followed by this person also doing a swipe movement and then continuing the line.
Do this transition.
And then this continues to the black outfit. Now, we've already covered this umbrella transition in the live editing workshop. That's also in your bonus if you want to check that out. It's the third tutorial during the live. But the basic guideline really is just making sure that your umbrella opens roughly at the exact same spot, roughly the same angle when you're opening it. So repeating your step really very, very closely and making sure to stand at the exact same place when you are doing this. And this is particularly important for this transition. I believe I have tape on the floor, so I put some tape on the floor to make sure that all of these I'm standing in the same place. Okay, so that is very, very important because you want to make sure it looks like you only changed your outfit. You did not change your body position or anything at all. So you have to mark your spot and go back into the same place. And at the end, after I do the umbrella wipe, the videographer wipes out. So what you want to do is simply just film everything on a tripod without touching the tripod with the first few outfits. And then when you are ready to do this whip pan transition, just take the base of the tripod in terms of the base of where your camera is attached and just wipe it, okay? So that's all you have to do. And we just continue here, wipe in and finish the final line, and that's it. Now let's just load all of the clips into CapCut. This can easily be done inside something like VN Video Editor or InShot as well. Okay, so we start here when the dialogue begins, so let's trim it. And let's trim it right till when it covers the full screen. Roughly here, and then trim this till when it starts coming out, so roughly here. So this should look very seamless. Great. Now what we want to do is match these two. We've already demonstrated this in the tutorial 2, but I'm just going to do it so that you can see. Now what we want to do is move it back far enough so that you can see the two like this. Okay, maybe here. Okay, like this, and reduce the opacity. And here we're gonna move the bottom layer and make the bottom layer bigger because the bottom layer is the one where I'm smaller as a subject. Roughly here is good. Alrighty, now we can bring the blend back to 100, move it back to the main track, and take a quick look. So I do feel like it's a little bit slow to come out, so I'm just gonna speed up the front bit a little bit right before I start talking, right here. Maybe just 1.4 or something, just so that it's a little bit faster. Now this part ends right here, and we trim it here because this is where the screenshot starts. I want to trim it to when I move the screen away like this, and we do the overlay method, of course, and we make sure that it is lined up. Also, let's go in and reduce the blend, and let's increase the size of this so that we match up in the frame like so. That looks pretty good. I think I might want to rotate it a tiny bit. Rotate. Oop, wrong. Go to basic, rotate, and just rotate it a tiny bit. Maybe 1 degree. Then move it to the right spot. Okay, I think that's good enough. It will look really seamless. So let's bring the opacity back up, and now we want to make sure it zooms out fast, so let's put a keyframe here and let's make this more of like the right size, maybe roughly this size, and have the person be centered like this. You can also add a little curve in here if you want. Maybe we can do a ease out. Okay, Let's take a quick look after we move this to the main track. Okay. Okay, that's looking good. So now we just want to trim it right here. When I look up, halfway through looking up is where we split it, because then we will continue this motion from here, where we look up roughly from here. Okay, split. This is just like a transition where it's a continuation of motion. And then this part ends right after I finish talking. So we split it and delete the rest. And now what we're going to do is we're going to overlay it right to the part where I snap my fingers and have them appear, and put a mask on each one so that they all overlay on top of each other and get combined into one. So you already know how to do this. We want to go to overlay, bring it to the front, right? Let's also choose the part where I actually start to act and look normal. So we trim it to the right part. We want them to appear when I snap my fingers right here. So this is a spot. Okay, let's move it forward. Okay, that's a good spot. So let's trim it right at the part where this clip ends. Let's do the same for all of the other clips. Now let's overlay all of these clips because we have them appearing at the right spot where I snap, right here. So we're gonna go in and add masks for each of them. Starting with this, let's do this top layer first. Looks like this is on the very top. And in case you need to reorder the layer, just go to layer and you'll be able to reorder them as you like. So let's go in and create a mask for this, horizontal, and of course move it so that you're able to see what's underneath. Okay, and then move it over. You could feather it ever so slightly if you want, but I don't know if we have much room for feathering really. So let's leave it at that for now, because they're very, very close together. And in the future, if you are going to duplicate, I would recommend not to sit so close to each other. It would just make your editing a little bit easier. And now what I want to do is I want the person on the very left to be on the layer next. So let's move it to 3. This way we can add a mask and then work our way inwards. Okay, let's add a mask, horizontal, and move like this. They are awfully close to each other, which really isn't ideal. Ideally, they should not overlap. You can see that the moment that I am waving, the person sitting down is waving, the arms get cropped off a little bit because we have the mask. So what we can do is we can find a spot where I'm not waving. Maybe we move it backwards and drag this forward to find a part where maybe it's less overlapping. Maybe actually we can do the opposite. So find a part where I put my hands down and I'm not waving. Let's see from here. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think we can do that. And then now let's go to this one, the sitting down one, and add in our mask. And turn it, of course. And then lastly, we're gonna go into the one in green, create a mask, and turn it. Now that I'm looking at it, I do think that the lines are just a tiny bit obvious. We could maybe try to add a mini feather to it, but it will be hard. But let's just try to add a tiny tiny feather. That already helps a lot to minimize that really harsh line between the two layers. And let's do it to this one as well. We could even move it over a bit because we're not as much overlapping. Okay, that looks much better. I think for the one on the right, it doesn't need as much of a feather. Now let's continue to the next part, which is actually the main focus of this transition. Let's start when I start talking, so roughly here. Split it and delete the first part to trim the clip. So you can see here I swiped from the left of the screen to the right of the screen, which is the opposite to the other two clips like I said before. But it's okay because when I put my hand back, this almost looks like I'm wiping from the right to the left. So I'm going to split it right here. And when you change outfits, the point in which you want to split it is right in the middle. Because if you think about when you're swiping through like a hologram, when do you think the outfit changes? It's right when it does the swipe, right? And so in between these two clips is when you want to do the outfit change. So right when your hand is pointing directly above your head. So we're going to find that point right here and continue this. Delete the first part. Oh, actually I paused afterwards, so that's wrong. We want to find the part where I wipe right to the middle, right here, split it and delete. So let's take a quick look. That looks good. So wipe, change outfit. It will make a lot more sense when you see the hologram as well. And then you want to repeat the same motion right here in the middle is when you change. So split that and find the part where I swipe midway through, split it and delete the beginning part. Let's take a look. That looks good. Now I'm just gonna continue trimming this since we're already trimming it. So I'm gonna trim the umbrella to the part where I fully cover the face. Now we've already talked about this during the live editing workshop and also in various other tutorials. So you should know that very well by now. And then let's find the same spot to continue and just make sure it looks smooth. That looks really great to me. And then it whips out. So we're gonna split it right here and then that should be good. All right, let me just check this umbrella transition. Seamless. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to animate the hologram, right? So in order to animate the hologram, we need to go in and screenshot the outfit where you're like standing straight looking forward and then make that into a PNG. So let's go in here and find a moment where I'm just looking straight, maybe like this one, and screenshot it. We do the same for this outfit, this part. Let's screenshot that and let's screenshot this part. All right. Now let's go into PixArt and remove the background. Okay, so let's go in and add these images. Go to remove background. And that's done. That was so easy. So this part, it accidentally deleted the umbrella, then also maybe the shoes. No, the shoes are there. So let's just recover the umbrella using the restore function, and then we can get more precise here. Let's reduce the size, and we have to go back to choosing erase, and then let's just do our best to erase up until the edges. So in this reel, we pop up like this, and then when we swipe through, it changes outfit, okay? So that's what we're going to do here. So let's add an overlay. Add overlay. Go and add in the photo that we just created. And let's roughly estimate the size we want it to be, maybe like this. That looks pretty nice size. And now first, before we animate everything, let's make sure to add a blend to it. So usually you can choose this filter or this lighten or overlay. Now it's up to you. You can go and play around a little bit. I think I like this filter one. It looks kind of nice, but I do think it looks a bit white. So I'm just gonna go into filters, adjust, and make sure that the contrast is more. I'll make sure it's more saturated. Maybe I'll reduce the brightness, or just play around with it to see how you want it to look. But I think this looks more like a hologram. Of course, you can also go for this one, maybe. Or this one. No, definitely not. Or this soft. Now this is your stylistic choice. I'm going to go with filter. This looks the most like a hologram to me. Now what we're going to do is we're going to animate it so that it pops up. So in order to animate it, we add a keyframe and another keyframe, and then we go to the first keyframe and make this very, very small. Like this. Pops up like this. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I might even make it pop up slower, so I add a keyframe here and remove this one. So now it pops up slower like this. But I do want to add a curve in between so the pop-up feels very natural. Maybe this one. And looks nice. So that's how you make the animation pop up. And now when you swipe through, you want to have it move from one side to the other. Okay, so before we do that, let's also add the other one so we can match the size of these tiny little hologram people. Okay, looking good. Let's move this forward because we don't need this until somewhere around here. Now what we're going to do is the moment that it swipes in, you can see that the outfit changes. So let's move this forward so it doesn't distract us. So now what we want to do is we want to animate this hologram when I am moving my fingers from here to here. Animate the hologram so it moves from the middle to the left, and we're going to have it disappear as well. So let's add a keyframe and add a keyframe at the beginning. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make sure it moves all the way out like this. Okay, maybe somewhere here. Okay, and then now what we're going to do is we're going to add a mask so that as it moves to the left, it will disappear because it is being masked out. So let's do that. Now before we do though, I do want to split this clip because I don't want the mask to affect these keyframes, because then it gets really complicated to edit and it doesn't look right. So let's go in and let's add a mask, and let's add a horizontal mask, and of course make it vertical. Make sure it's 90 degrees. And also the reason why I said let's split the clip is because with a mask, with every keyframe, the mask, you'll need to adjust the mask for every keyframe, and that's why it gets a bit complicated to edit. So I'm just going to go in and fix that for these keyframes, and you'll also be able to see why we had to add a mask. I think this is 90 degrees here. Okay, like this maybe. So now you see, because we have a mask and with each keyframe we keep the mask at the same spot, it now allows this person to disappear into the mask because the mask sort of covers the person. So now you have the hologram animation where it looks like this. But I just think it's awfully slow. So I'm gonna, let's see, add a little curve. Also, I notice it's not matched up with my fingers, so we need to move the keyframe forward here, here. like this. And I want to remove this keyframe as well. Okay, let's take a look at that. Oh, that looks better. So it's going to look like this. You see? So now it's been wiped out, and because you have a mask, a vertical mask here that you have to adjust with each keyframe, it will just naturally go out of the frame like this. Now what you're going to do is you're going to do the same for this black one, but instead it's going to appear from the right and appear in with the mask and then go into the center. So we should start from where the keyframe is here and add a keyframe here, and then find the keyframe where it ends and add a keyframe here. And we're going to move this to the center like this. And let's move this out just a bit more. And now let's go in and add a mask. Same concept, but this time you're going to have it be roughly here so that it will appear in. Again, like I said, you're going to have to make this adjustment to the mask with every keyframe. So you're going to have it be here. So this is what it's going to look like. It's going to appear from here and move into the center. And we're going to add the same curve. Okay, let's take a quick look. Okay, that looks pretty good, but I think the speed is a little off. Okay, so what I feel is that the black one, this white one seems to be going out at a decent pace, but I think the black one can come in sooner. So we want it to maybe arrive in the middle here. So let's just add a keyframe and move it in. Remove this keyframe, make sure the curve is in there, okay? And let's just take a look. That looks nice. So the black came in faster like this, and the moment it comes into the frame, you change outfits, okay? So let's continue this. And then next one, of course, is when you swipe from here to here. This from here, you'll change outfits right here. So we're gonna add a keyframe here, add a keyframe roughly here for this to move out of the frame. But again, we also want to go in and make sure we change our mask as well. So in fact, I'm going to split this clip here so that the masks that we have before in the previous keyframes don't mess it up here. So we're going to go in and move this mask, and we're going to flip it 90 degrees again. Let's also move this one to 90 degrees and have it be roughly here. So what's going to happen is, let's make sure this is 90 degrees. It's going to wipe out and disappear, okay? I actually think we might be able to, now that I'm looking at it, I think we might want to move the mask of this white outfit so that the outfit disappears sooner, like this. Okay, and then now we're going to do the same for the black outfit. I'm going to make sure the mask looks good. That looks good, but we did not add a curve, so let's go in and add it. Boom, nice. So now we're going to do the same for this pink one. We're going to go in and add a mask, and we're going to make it vertical. We're also going to make this vertical. and put it in the right place. Just make sure it is 90 degrees, okay? Okay, let's take a quick look. So what I realized is we did the wrong thing with the mask here, because what we're trying to do is not have the pink disappear, but have it appear. So we flipped the horizontal mask in the wrong vertical direction. Instead, we want to go like this, right? Because we want it to appear in. So you need to go and do it to both keyframes, remember? And let's just go in, move it here. And so now the pink should appear. Right, that's great. Let's check the timing. Let's add a curve and make sure the timing looks good. I think that looks pretty good. So now let's take a look at the hologram animation. Okay, great. Now I just want to go in and adjust the color. Mainly I want to adjust the color maybe for, I think this color looks really good. This one looks like it got really dark, so but then it's really bright in the beginning. So I'm gonna go in and add a keyframe here. And when it got really dark, I'm gonna add another keyframe and I'm gonna go in and adjust the exposure here, or the brightness. Okay, so that it will go from this brightness and basically create an animation between the brightness so that it will go to this brightness value here, and then it will remain the same throughout. And then we're gonna go from here. This looks pretty good. I might just make the clip just a tiny bit brighter so it matches better, like this. Maybe adjust the hue a tiny bit. Oops, oh no. There's keyframes on it. Okay. Since there are keyframes in here, I'm not going to go in and adjust the color. I'm just going to do it after we export this in 4K and do the zoom in, zoom out, and then I'm going to add adjustment to it afterwards. Same as this, I'm going to adjust the color all together with all of these layers flattened in one video layer, basically. Okay, same as this. I think I'll just wait to change the colors. Now I do feel like this is so dark, so I'm gonna go in and then it gets brighter like this. So I'm gonna go in and just make some adjustments in between to the brightness. Okay. That already looks better. Great, and I think generally these colors look fine. So I'm going to go ahead and export this so that we can start adding some zoom in, zoom out effects afterwards. What I might actually do before I export it though is go in and adjust the color of this screen here, because it looks very different to this right here. So I'm gonna add a keyframe here. I'm gonna try and match this with this. So first of all, I think this looks a bit too blue. So let's go in here and go to filter and adjust, maybe even adjust the brightness a tiny bit. Let's make it definitely warmer in the tone. Yeah, I think that's good enough. Now let's just go in here to this keyframe right here and adjust the color a little bit so that it looks more in line with what we just saw. Maybe we go and play around with the temperature, the hue mostly. I think it needs to be pinker. Okay. And we could also just do that to this keyframe as well, making sure it's roughly similar, like a bit pinker. Okay, now let's take a quick look at the color and just make sure there's nothing else we need to fix before we export it.
So you want to learn how to edit like a pro,
but you don't have a camera or pay for professional software. And all you have is your phone. No wait, this phone. Well, what if I told you you could do this with just your phone and free apps? Or animate this? Or do this transition? I can show you how.
So right here, after we finish this animation, we also want to make sure we make this disappear. So right when I start talking, we can add a keyframe, add another keyframe, and then just minimize it very, very small back down to here. And then we can split this clip and delete the rest. Okay? So then it's gonna look like this. Okay, I think that looks fine. And then that pretty much takes you to the end of this video. So now let's export it in 4K. Now let's just bring that video back and let's start to do some animations where you want. So I want to do a zoom in when I go, no wait.
No wait.
So let's add a keyframe here, add a keyframe here, and just really zoom in on this person here. And let's add a curve like this. And here, we also want to zoom out so that we can see everybody. So we want to add a keyframe and then add another one right before you snap your finger and then reduce the size back to its original. And again, let's add, let's say we do, maybe we do this one. Yep. So let's take a look. Okay, and then I want to zoom in a little bit on the person here as we do the umbrella transition. So maybe a bit like this. And then we can also make it so that it goes back to full size when we do this wipe. Now let's take a look. I think we want this to zoom in even more maybe, and maybe even sooner because it felt a bit slow. Or actually, before we move it sooner, let's add a curve first, and let's make sure this one is roughly the same size as the other one. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we can go in and fix any colors that we don't like. So these colors look fine. Right here, let's start from here. We can go to adjust and let's do auto adjust. And let's make sure that it only starts from this clip onwards, like this. And maybe also it can stop right here. Split. And we make adjustments for this in brightness. And we stop it right here. Okay. So we'll definitely need to go in and be more precise so there's no moments like this. Okay, so let's just take a quick look first. First of all, I really don't like this zoom out look. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna split this clip. Let's make it so that this isn't so zoomed in. maybe from here. You can remove this. Now this looks pretty nice. Maybe we move it so it's centered so that now you can see it looks like this. The framing is much nicer. And also we need to add a curve. I almost think this should be here. Remove this. And here. Remove this. And we make this bigger. Okay, so now it will look like this. That's great. And let's also make sure that the color, the adjustment layer is on the right layer. Yes, looking good. Let's just make sure this is in the right spot. I do think that the auto adjust is a bit aggressive in terms of the contrast. I'm gonna just bring it down, but increase the brightness. Oop, that's too much. Like this. That looks nice. This looks nice too. We might be able to go in and just like make it a little bit more pink. Just a little. That looks great. And then this, we want it to end in the right place. So right here. Let's split this clip here and trim this so that it will, and just trim this a little bit so that it will start in the right place. Okay. I'm just gonna go and make sure this adjustment layer is snapped to the right place so that it doesn't affect this next clip. Okay, good. And then let's duplicate this adjustment layer and put it right here. And let's adjust it to be not so bright. Okay, from here to here, that looks pretty good. And then we can just stretch this all the way to the part where you wipe out, like here. Okay, so now we have the zoom in, zoom out, we have the color adjustments. It should all look good. Let's just check one last time and make sure there's nothing else we need to adjust.
So you want to learn how to edit like a pro,
But you don't have a camera or pay for professional software. And all you have is your phone. No wait, this phone. Well, what if I told you you could do this with just your phone and free apps? Or animate this? Or do this transition? I can show you how.
Now, one last thing is I feel like when I'm doing this animation, it's really slow. So I'm just gonna go in and just make it just a tad faster. In fact, I think I'm gonna split it right after I finish talking and then just speed up all of this part. All of this, a uniform speed up, like 20–30% maybe. Let's take a look. Okay, I think that looks good. Now let's just make sure that the adjustment layer is also moved to the right spot here. Okay, good. Now it is at a better speed. Now let's deal with the audio part of things. So if you listen to the audio of all of the dialogue, most of them were done pretty well because I had put microphones, like a little built-in microphone here, and the sound design was done quite well in all of these. The only one that I think I will maybe go and do an enhanced voice is this part. So I'm gonna split it and go in here and then go to enhance voice. And I just want to enhance it a little bit. So let's play that, see how it sounds.
So you want to learn how to edit like a pro.
Now, I don't want to entirely remove all of the background noise, so I'm going to just reduce the noise cleanup a little bit. And now it sounds really great. Everything else also is good. Now let's add some sound effects, okay? So let's go into sound and your folder and device. So this is where you've probably added a bunch of sound effects before. Now we have some stuff here. We have low whoosh. I think it is perfect for a little wall wipe transition. So let's look at it. That looks pretty good. I'm gonna go in, reduce this volume a bit, and I might just go in and increase the volume for all of the dialogue just to make sure it's very easy to hear. Just keep in mind that if there are keyframes, you'll also have to adjust the volume for each keyframe. Now I have adjusted the volume for all of the dialogues. Let's go back in and see what other parts need our sound effects. So maybe I want to add a finger snap sound effect right here. So let's go into sounds and go to device, and I have dropped a sound effect that's like a human snap, finger snap. So let's take a listen. Okay, let's add it. Okay, we want to make sure to time it well. Right here, so. Okay, that's good. So it just emphasizes the sound of the snap a little bit more. And I'm going to do a little animating multimedia chime here as well. We already have that inside our folder. Maybe we can use this one. And then we also want to add a sound effect for every time we swipe through and change outfits. Maybe we can use this. And we do it right when we switch outfits here. And then duplicate it. And move it here.
Or do this transition.
So you can already hear that there's the umbrella sound, but I just want to add an external sound to make it even better, so it sounds even more distinct. So we have this umbrella, large sound. Sounds like that. Let's add it. Probably here. That looks great. And then lastly, we can also do a little whip sound for this whip pan transition. Perhaps we want to do, let's do this low whoosh. Okay. And let's also reduce the volume a little bit.
I can show you.
Okay, that looks good. So now we have the dialogue, we have the sound effects. Let's add a song to it as well. So we have a song that we have inside our device after airdropping it. This one. Let's add it in. And before we even listen to it, we definitely need to reduce the volume maybe to like a 10 because we have a dialogue, so we don't want it to overpower the dialogue.
So you want to learn how to edit like a pro.
But you don't have a camera or pay for professional software. And all you have is your phone. No wait, this phone. Well, what if I told you you could do this with just your phone and free apps? Or animate this?
Okay, I think definitely there's too much of the intro music, so we gotta find a place where we can start the beat drop sooner. Maybe we want to have the beat drop be here. So let's drag this forward. This is all arbitrary depending on how you want your music to progress.
have is your phone. No wait, this phone. But what if I told you you could do this with
Maybe we want to do it roughly here.
phone? Well, what if I told you you could do this?
Maybe we'll want the beat drop when all the people appear.
Well, what if I told you you could do this with just your you could do this with
I kind of like that, and let's just drag this so it starts from the beginning. So now that's good to go, and all you need to do is export at 1080p.
So you want to learn how to edit like a pro.
but you don't have a camera or pay for professional software. And all you have is your phone. No wait, this phone. Well, what if I told you you could do this with just your phone and free apps? Or animate this? Or do this transition?
I can show you how.